not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. All kind of great stuff. Just all kind of interesting things happening. You kind of feel it all around Myrtle Beach, right? That springtime's coming. Weather's warmer, and everyone's just kind of getting back out in terms of real estate as well. Market's been really, really good despite interest rates going up past couple of weeks, but they did bump back down at the end of the week, which is great. So got almost back to a 2-week low, which is helpful. So we'll talk about what's happening because it really has been driving the amount of home sales, but we've seen a great amount of new properties going under contract. We'll talk about what's going on there. We overall review the overall market numbers, the macro market numbers for anyone that missed a couple weeks show ago. Last week, we talked about the micro market numbers, and we saw some numbers all over the place, right? We saw some up, some down, and really look at the 3-month average. Sales are down significantly, but we have seen a great bounce back starting in January. Also in February, even though rates have gone up, it's been very, very resilient. So we'll talk about what's going on with that. We'll talk about what's happening with interest rates. Overall, look at that. And we'll also just kind of look at what's really to look for the spring market. That typical spring market is here a little bit earlier this year than usual. And we're seeing that all across the country. And I think that just has to do with so many people that were just on the sidelines as rates jumped up. There's a little bit of that sticker shock. And even though rates went back down into the 5s, which is great, they bumped back a little bit to the high 6s, but a lot of people just kind of over that sticker shock. And we have a lot of pent up demand right now. We're seeing multiple offers happen. My team put, I think, 23 properties under contract in the last 7 days, which is awesome. And the MLS have over $200 million in properties under contract last 7 days, which is awesome. So we'll also talk about today's show. We have the list the past couple weeks to talk about, just didn't get time to. There's historic amounts of buyers who are just currently sitting on the sidelines. And some of that has to do with population growth. We'll break down some of that data based on age group and age range. And it's very, very fascinating to look at and how much different it is now versus 2008 crisis. And so I was in the market then, been through ups, downs, all kind of stuff. This one's definitely different, and we're still seeing very, very tight inventory. Also, we just actually added to our investment fund. If anybody wants an instant offer, we have the ability to do so. We have investment fund, millions and millions of dollars looking to buy properties instantly, cash as is, fair price. And we'll talk about that today's show as well. But just lots of great stuff we'll get to today.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the real estate whiz kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realty magazine, and other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Brett the Morning Show. You've heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LeBlanc. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and that's just really the whole DNA behind why we do this show. And really, it comes from just so many horror stories I've seen while doing this show. I think we're going on 14 years of this show. And it's one of those things that being in the business for almost 20 years, you just kind of see horror story after horror story after horror story. And it goes back to the same people making the same mistakes over and over and over. It doesn't matter how many properties they sold, how affluent they are, they still make the same mistake. And that same mistake is thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor, any lawyer, if you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, the last thing you want is a part-time attorney who's tried a few cases, but your friend recommended to you because they just got their license, right? You don't want that. You want the absolute best, and you should demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with, for most people, one of the largest, most sacred assets, which is their home they live in, the home they raise their kids in, the home that you see your kids make their first steps in, right? You want to make sure that it's handled with care and somebody who has true expertise. And so it comes down to this. And the fact is, this single most important variable determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period. Right? Not the wall color, not the quality of the grass, not the clutter you have. It comes down to the agent you have, and do they actually execute? Now, I was talking about this, one of my coaches this week, and we talked about most people will spend 10, 20 years working hard, building their hard-earned equity, but they spend 3 minutes picking an agent, and usually pick the agent based on the wrong things, like who's the cheapest and who can refer so-and-so. And they don't ask the deep questions or really ask who's the best with the most experience and expertise that can guide me through this process. So the experience is stress-free. And most importantly, I put the right amount of money, the most amount of money in my pocket at the end. And so what I did is said, there's got to be a better way. I grew up in the business. My whole family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. I remember looking back and putting signs up at early age. My mom said I was putting them up with her when 2 years old. And ultimately, I don't remember that far back, but I do remember early on riding with her, doing open houses. And every day after school, I'd leave school and go back to my parents and my grandfather at the time, his real estate company. I'd sit there and just watch and learn. I remember thinking like, hey, I want to do this one day and I want to do something my own way. I've always been fascinated with business. And so when I got into business, in 2005 in January, I noticed that it was really wild. Everyone just operated the same way. And I remember asking my mom, like, hey, what do we do? And she's like, I don't know. We'll send some postcards. And so I said, there's got to be a better way, a better system. And I sought out and found these mentors and coaches. And I looked at what people did outside of real estate. And I brought those processes and systems and say, what if you ran like a true business where each person had something assigned they handled? They were a true expert at each piece or each part of the pie. And we can actually get predictable results for our clients versus what everyone does is just get a listing, put it in MLS, and pray someone brings a buyer. Then they take half the commission. They're cool with that. And they go right down the street to get the next listing, and they do pretty decent. But ultimately, who's left with the most frustration is the home buyer, the home seller at the end, because they don't have the true service and communication they want. And so I sought out, designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. It's the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. What we did is we sought out and said, hey, look, what actually has to happen in a transaction for it to be smooth and be proven and repeatable? We back it up with two main things. The number one thing we back it up with is a team of people, a team of specialists. And so versus when I was at a Remax or when I was at Cold Banker, it was me and 100 other agents. But the reality was they didn't care about me and I didn't care about them. In fact, many of them were trying to steal my leads when I'd talk over the cubicle. And it was dog eat dog. And there was no real alignment in terms of the organization. It was just everyone out there selling on their own. It didn't really service the client the best way. And so I said, how can we create an organization that is everyone in alignment? And you have true specialists that each person handles that piece of the job and they're very, very good at it. So at the end, it's much more efficient and it's much more of a streamlined process. And so that's what I did, create this brokerage that has a team model that operates strictly within the brokerage. So it's a hybrid type model and each person's a specialist. And so the second thing we backed it up with is technology, where we spend really hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years to really create technology that streamlines the process for our clients. They know what happens, but most importantly, we're able to find buyers for listings and bring those buyers to listings and get the most amount of money. I didn't want to just get a listing and put it to MLS. I want to get that listing and bring a buyer to it so that we get obviously the most amount of money, because let's be real, I'm in business to make money and I'm in business to sell my clients' properties, not just put it into MLS. And so that's exactly what we sought out to do and develop software that takes any new listing, aka your property, and it takes the 80,000 plus buyers that we have and it reverse engineers the most likely buyer for that property based on their previous search patterns. And so we're able to do that based on the technology we have in that scenario. The third piece of that is tenacity. Our team is very, very tenacious in terms of how we operate, right? Most agents are out playing golf right now on Thursday and Friday in the afternoons, but we're usually in the office hustling because we're tenacious and we're here to win. That's why we have the number one real estate team in Myrtle Beach and the top 60 in the country, is because of how we operate from a tenacity standpoint with intensity. And the fourth piece of that is truth, right? We tell our clients what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. Where many agents tell you anything and everything just to get the listing, but then they waste 6 months of your time, or they underprice that listing and they just cost you $30,000, $40,000 your hard-earned equity. And so if you want to know more how that works, reach out, call me. You have the system, 843-808-SOLD. That guaranteed sold system is very, very, very powerful. It blows anybody's mind once they sit down and see it. And you'll see how it really makes any other agent irrelevant. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables on the buy side. If each one's handled correctly, it saves you money. You get the property that you want. But if that agent drops the ball at any point, that costs you your hard-earned money, or most of the times you miss out on that property. And so I developed this thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System to get you priority access to foreclosures, distressed sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price. And they both are designed to do one thing. And that one thing is to give you, the client, the ultimate competitive advantage every single time. So if you want to know how it works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime.
So if you're in the market to buy or sell a home right now, every detail means dollars, and who you hire to negotiate your home, that really matters. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and as an active investor who invests in real estate all across the great country of ours, I want the best negotiator representing my interests. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. They can help you navigate through multiple cash offers.
Okay, so we got 20 left. All right.
Turn complicated situations into 5-star reviews. Now check out his rave reviews on Google. Talk to him yourself. If you are on trial with big money at stake, you would want a seasoned negotiator with thousands of victories. If they will take you on and you can afford them, right? Well, your home deserves the best representation. Know your options, see how much demand your home can command in this market right now, and get the best representation that you deserve. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Barker. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options for home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date. They can ask your help on even ready.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new market alert, all kind of crazy stuff going on in the market. And here's the deal. We have one main goal of the show, and that's just to keep you updated in anything and everything real estate along the Grand Strand. Been doing it for a long time, and hopefully just our goal is to provide value and just keep you updated so you can, one, make really good decisions about your largest assets, which is real estate. It could be investment, commercial, residential, whatever it is. We're doing that. Obviously, we share all that. And here's the deal. If you have a question about anything, reach out to us. There's never pressure, any hassle. We're just here to serve you, serve the community like we've been doing for a very, very, very long time here. And one of the things that we do is just watch these numbers like crazy. If you want to go back and watch any replays on this, we stream it on Facebook. You can look me up under Blake Sloan. Follow me, Sloan Realty Group. You go to our YouTube. All that stuff's online for you to go back and watch another times. And also, put it into a podcast you can listen to as well. So really quick, digging the numbers, very, very interesting. One thing we'd like to do here, I've been doing for a while, is track the new weekly numbers where it's very, very easy and also essential to track these patterns of what's happening, because I call these the windshield numbers, right? This allows me to see what's happening in the future. I can look every single day and every week and look how many properties go under contract, and it allows me to forecast for my clients based on the real pulse of what's happening. Can you go more aggressive? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? And then we also look at the rear view mirror numbers, which we'll do, which are numbers that closed last month. The problem is they're 30, 60 days old. Right now, looking at MLS, it's actually still rock and rolling pretty well. Rates have climbed back up significantly in the past few weeks. But right now, in the last 7 days, 601 properties under contract for $216,467,758, which is great. You look at last week's show, it was 567 for 206 million. So 10 million more just this week versus last week's show, which is awesome. We're seeing inventory go back down too, because we're hitting that spring market earlier. And here's the thing, it's actually increasing even though rates have gone up as well, which is very, very interesting to look at. We're still struggling with inventory. We'll talk about that. But active inventory right now, 803 single family properties that are active in Horry County, right? So I look at those as single family homes that are resale, just because it's easier to track the data on. Some of the new construction data is not fully accurate because they don't share all that data with this. So it's just very, very easy. If you look at last week's show, 846 active. So from 846 down to 803 this week, which is great. This week, 8 properties are $1 million. We're under contract, which is great. 99 properties are $500,000, which is big time, right? We're seeing a lot of money still flow into here. We're selling a lot of properties, a lot of high-end properties. We just did a great testimonial this morning. One of our clients who was awesome, Mr. Jim Burr, and we sold his high-end luxury property in Tidewater, and just talked about the great communication, and really interviewed multiple agents, and was just so impressed with the honesty and openness of our team about the data, about what's happening, and telling him what he needed to hear, not necessarily what he wanted to hear. And we're still seeing a lot of high-end stuff move right now, which is good. If you go back, though, looking, just give you some contrasts. Again, 601 properties under contract for $216 million. If you go to the first week of January, only 364 properties under contract for $125 million. So almost $100 million more dollars per week right now than the first week of January. And so you're seeing that really ramp up, and that's just coming into the season. We are seeing, in my opinion, the spring market come earlier than usual. My friends across the country in my networks are saying the same exact thing. So if you're thinking about selling, the reason I share that is you may want to think about getting on the market a little bit earlier this year than usual, because you don't want to miss that surge of buyers right now that's coming in. That just comes from most of those sitting on the sidelines for so long, really sitting back. And so that's just some interesting data to look at overall. If you look at the MLS numbers overall last month, they were kind of not dismal, but has been really good. Sales are down 31.7% year over year. So if you look at January versus January, for example, if you go back to January 2022, there's 479 properties under contract, that closed in January. And this January, 327. So significant decline, obviously 31% there overall. But the one thing that's interesting, though, if you look at sales over the last 3 months, which is really kind of when we saw some of the slowest, if you look, obviously, November, December, January, sales are down 42.8% overall for the 3-month average. And so that's significant when you're looking at, almost half the buyers coming in. It's very, very interesting to look at. And so if you look at sales price, guess what? Still very resilient. Sales price up 4.5% year over year. So right now, the median sales price, $350,000, up 4.5% where it was. It is down, though, month versus month. I like to watch that closer because that way I can advise my clients on, hey, look, here's what the Pulse is doing. In December, prices are at $368,500 for median. Right now, $350. But it's been bouncing around a little bit. So, for example, in November, it's $361, December, $368, January, $350. It did peak out this year in May of 2022 at $380,000. It's been bouncing around, going down a little bit since then. But I'll tell you one thing that's holding that tight right now is supply, which is the amount of homes. Inventory is up 150% from the same time last year, which seems like a lot, but it's really not when we had almost zero inventory. So if you go back, to January last year, is at 0.9 months inventory. Right now, we're at 2.5 months inventory. And it's one of those things that it really just kind of goes, it's only 2.5 months. If you go to anything less than 6 months, it's a seller's market. Anything more than 6 months, a buyer's market. But what's crazy, if you go back to the last time it was 2.5 months, it was November 2020. And so it was still significant. If you go back to just April 2020, there was 4.7 months inventory on the marketplace. So still, we're almost half where we were in 2020, which is why you're seeing prices hold so tight, even though there's just obviously almost 43% less buyers in the last 3 months. And so it's one of those things that there's many reasons for that. Many people are locked in with low interest rates. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Most people just got locked in at 2 and 3%, sometimes 3 and 4%, and they're just staying put, which is keeping inventory very, very low, which is helping protect values because we always know it's supply and demand driven, and we always know that price is always that lagging indicator. And so that's something that's very, very interesting to overall to look at and understand. We have seen a big jump in showings, which is good. If you look at month versus month, it's down 34% from last year, but from December to January, it jumped big time. So in December, the average showing per listing in the entire MLS was 3.2. Right now, though, it's 4.7. So significant increase in buyer traffic. That's something that's very, very healthy. We can all see that. Anytime I tell my team, anytime that there's $200+ million in real estate sold in a single week, that's super hot market right now. It's very, very good. We were seeing 200 million, in mid last year, even after we started seeing a decline in March. And so great news overall in terms of the market coming back here in the Myrtle Beach area. So if I'm a home seller, I'm thinking about that, getting in the market earlier this year than usual because we're seeing that surge of buyers right now. Into overall condo sales. Condo closed sales down 44.3% year over year. So, for example, January last year, 573 condo sales. This year, 319. So, significant decline. But guess what? Price is still holding up pretty good. Prices are still 17.9% year over year. If you look at the 3-month average, it's still up 18.2%. And again, that goes back to just very, very, very low inventory. And I've been reading that we're going to see this last for a very, very long time, potentially through the end of the decade, which is crazy. We'll talk about that here as well when we break down some of that demographics of population and things like that. Months of supply up significantly, up 249% from last year, but that's kind of skewed because it's only 2.4 months inventory. It was just so low last year with 0.5 and 0.6 months inventory. The last time we were at 2.4 months inventory was looking back at between March and February of 2021. And so if you go back, though, just to like 2020, there was 5.9 months inventory in April 2020. That's a balanced market, right? That means your buyers can buy, sellers can sell. It's kind of comfortable. You can get some money off the price. But right now, we're at half that, or less than half of that. So April 2020, 5.9 months. Right now, 2.4 months. Significant decline overall in terms of inventory, which is also helping protect that price. And so that's just great news overall. Look at that. Showings per listing in condos also up month versus month. So we're seeing that really still made of November, December, which is a bit bad combination of high interest rates, seasonality of a lot of people just get paralyzed between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now they're coming into the new year, and we're seeing a much bigger jump in terms of people moving. Now, looking at interest rates, right? We talk about kind of what's going on. Last week's show, we were at 6.45. Right now, looking at today's interest rates, where we're at overall 6.82%. So not quite the high we were, but we were close there last week. If you look back just a couple weeks ago, we were 5.98 just 4 weeks ago. So 5.98 all the way up to 6.78. That has put some buyers back on the sidelines. But what I'm seeing is, which is why we track this daily, $216 million in real estate sold last 7 days. There's still a lot of people buying, and guess what? They're buying in Myrtle Beach, and it's so cool to see the growth here. You've probably seen all that stuff, the new Margaritaville announcement, other big high-rise announcements. People are moving here like crazy, making investments in Myrtle Beach because it is still the number one driving destination. And so we've talked with our team. We're very, very well insulated, which is great, great news overall. And so interest rates looking pretty decent. Hopefully they're going to come back down in terms of what's happening. There was concern last week with the overall inflation not being as cooled off as people hoped it was, which affected the bond market. Bond market drove up interest rates. We're probably hopefully going to see that coming back down here just a little bit over the next few months. But right now, bottom line is sellers are still in that hot market right now. 200 plus million in real estate, low inventory. Get your property teed up now early to come this spring and make sure you're positioned very, very well. Take a quick break, right back in a second.
WRNN listeners, Blake Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty.
How are we looking?
You have about 6 minutes left or so.
Cool, thank you.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know with your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyers alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers along the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area, looking for properties worth $250,000 to $4.6 million right now. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we like to do every week, we've been doing this for a long, long time, is put our money where our mouth is. You ask the question of like, hey, look, what makes you different than anyone else? And the difference is I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars every single month over and over and over, driving traffic online, bringing buyers in from around the globe that looking for properties just like yours. And so by the time you call me, I have a plethora of buyers who we just automatically are able to, we call it buyers in waiting, match up with our home sellers using our technology, where the competition, most agents that you call, they're a single agent, right? They can't afford to spend tens of thousands of dollars every month driving traffic online. So they're waiting to get your listing. Then they put the sign on the ground. Then they start actually doing something. And so with us here, we share this every week, right? Our buyers alert right now, active home buyers who are searching on our site, meaning that they have a username, password, account, 71,265 active home buyers, 71,265 active home buyers looking from all over. Right now, I got Tori Pence from Boston, Massachusetts. I got Janet Martin from Birmingham, Alabama. I got Jason from Myrtle Beach. I got Josh from Middletown, New York. I got Joshua from Suncook, New Hampshire. Tim from Bristol, Tennessee. Let's see what else we got. Old Town, Maine. I got Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It says Toronto, Ontario. So Belmore, New York. I got East Sectet, New York, all over the place. Here you go. San Jose, California. Ms. Lori Bibb searching the site right now as we do this. And so if you're thinking about selling, you want to go with someone who has buyers in waiting. We have the overall list of buyers, and we use our technology, reverse engineer the most likely buyer for your property based on the previous search pattern, just like any Facebook ad. Most agents right now are still trying to figure out, Microsoft Outlook, and we're using high-level technology to make sure that we can get the most amount of buyers for your house and match those up. In addition to having a sales team, we talked about this actually earlier. We track how many dials our buyer team made last week. Last week, there were 16,000 plus dials our buyer team made to buyers out there, matching up properties to the buyers. And so here's the difference, right? If they're a single agent you're talking to, or you have a single agent list your house, how is it physically possible for one single agent to make 16,000 dials to buyers to try to bring buyers to your property? It's not. And that's what makes a difference in terms of our business model. And that's what our competitive advantage is overall in terms of that. And so awesome success story here really quick. Tom and Ferry owned a condo in Myrtle Beach, decided it's time to sell, move back to North Carolina. It was important to them, though, to sell the condo for top dollar so they can use all that money to purchase their new home in North Carolina. Thankfully, big shout out, Tom been listening to our radio show here for the past years, knew exactly who to call. We met with Tom and Ferry, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough with just a couple of weeks to massive traffic, had Tom and Ferry a fantastic offer on their home. Now, Tom Ferry can use all that money of the sale of their condo into the purchase of their new property in North Carolina, which is awesome. Also, a big shout out to Rebecca. She recently purchased a condo in Little River. After a few months, decided she would prefer to be in a different area. She wanted to sell, but her major concern was getting all of her money back out in just a short period of time. Thankfully, she listed beforehand. She listed her property a different realtor. Never received a single offer. This time around, she knew she needed to hire absolute best. She went to interview multiple agents. She heard about us on the radio and decided to give Sloan a call. It was clear to us after we met with her we were the best choice. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtuality walkthrough. Within a couple weeks, showed massive traffic, had her amazing offer on her property. Now she got top dollar for her condo and is moving to the area of town that she wanted to, all from that standpoint. And so if you want to be our next success story, reach out, call us, 843-808-SOLD. And so one thing to look at right now is just watch out for a lot of investors that are actually wholesalers. I mentioned this before, but we've still been experiencing this. We've had people call from out of state. They're just making crazy offers. And what they're doing is tying your property up. They're not licensed in most cases. And they're tying your property up to try to sell it to someone else. And so in order for them to do that, they have to lock you in a very, very low rate or low purchase price. And then they're taking that, trying to flip that to someone else. What you don't realize, though, is there's usually some fine print in the contract that says they can get out for any reason up until the day of closing. So just be aware of that. We had some people that, may not be as tech savvy, that just kind of got taken advantage of, that came to us afterwards, but they had wasted 60 plus days of their time. They weren't able to get what they wanted. And so that's something that's super important to make sure that, look, we're in the community here. We're licensed. You want somebody who's licensed to do that. We do have an investment fund. We pay fair prices for that to make sure that we're able to back it up. And here's the deal. We close all the time. We don't close unless there's, some major issue we find out in the first couple of days, like foundation or something like that. We've never even had that happen. So if you want to be one of those success stories, reach out, call us, 843-808-SOLD as well. We also right now have a real estate scholarship. Anybody looking to get real estate, our team is growing, right? We did about 800 homes last year, still growing in this market, even though it's slowing down. So if you're thinking about career in real estate, if you want to serve clients at the highest level, have the intensity, have the service mindset to over-deliver to clients, reach out to us, call us. You can go to sloanscholarship.com. You can go to blakesloan.com. You can also just Google Blake Sloan Real Estate Scholarship. So appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you back here next week, same time.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaBox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's